Percentages, converting from fractions and decimals with number chips. And this is the New Year's version. So it starts with explaining that a percentage is a comparison out of 100. So 45% means 45 out of 100. So it gives them some examples here. If the decimal is 56 hundredths, then we write it as a fraction, 56 hundredths, which means that it's 56% because it's a comparison out of 100. So 73 hundredths would be 73%, 12 hundredths would be 12%, and one whole would be 100 out of 100 or 100%. Now on the next slide, they're going to use the number chips. So that means they're going to use every single number. It needs to go in one of these blank circles. And this slide's pretty simple. So it's just giving that straight comparison of 12 hundredths would be 12%, 59 hundredths would be 59%, and so on. So that one's pretty simple. Give them a little bit of practice moving the circles. Now, another way to convert from a decimal to a percentage is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So, for example, 62 hundredths, you may move the decimal 2 places to the right and you get 62%. 1 and 74 hundredths, move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and they get 174%. Now on this one, if they move the decimal 2 places to the right, they're going to get a blank space here where they need to add a 0, so that would make it 30%. So on the next one, they're going to be moving their number chips. Now on this one, they have to be careful and count correctly. So this one, 65%, where this one will be 6 and 5/10%. Now this one, if they move the decimal point 2 places to the right, it gives them a blank space. They're going to have to put a 0. So that would not be 7%, it would be 70%. And this one, 7%. So it gives them a little bit of practice, making sure they're counting correctly. Now another way to change from a fraction to a decimal to a percent is to change their denominator of their fraction to 100, and then they're comparing out of 100. So to do this, I have to multiply the numerator and the denominator both by 5. That gives me an equivalent fraction of 45 hundredths, which is written as a decimal and as a percent. Then they'll get a little practice doing that, changing their denominator to 100. They have to multiply by 5. So if they multiply the numerator by 5, that will give them 30. And that would be 30 hundredths as a decimal, or 30%. So on the next slide, they'll do the same thing. Next 2 slides. Now, sometimes they may not be able to directly convert to 100 in the denominator, so they may have to simplify first. So in this case, if they divide the numerator and denominator by 2, they get 9/20ths, and that they can convert to a fraction with 100 in the denominator. So the next few slides, that's what they're going to be doing. So they simplify first using all of the number chips. They have to use them all at least once. And then they change it to a fraction with 100 in the denominator, then to change to a decimal, then to a percent. Now they're not always able to change that denominator to 100. So in this case, with 5/8, all they can do is divide, use long division. 5 divided by 8. Or they could use a calculator. But with long division, this is how it works. That numerator is going to go here inside the box. So 5 divided by 8, and it shows the whole process. They're going to get an answer of 625 thousandths. They have to move that decimal point 2 places to the right to get 62 and 5/10%. Now the next one is a division problem also. Most of it's done for them, but they have to use these 6 numbered chips to figure out the answer. And they also have to move their decimal point into the correct place. So that decimal point is movable. And on the final slide, they're going to be doing all of the division and using every single number chip and also moving the decimal into the correct place in their answer. Now, all the completed slides are on here for the teacher. So if you want to assign this to the students, just come up here to File, make a copy of the entire presentation, and then just delete the slides that are have the answers.